come see with me the way I'd rather be. Back it up real slowly, make you fall in love with me. Leave all your cares behind, only here for just tonight. Let me see.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Tiera, and I'm back with another Tapped In with Tiera. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me. If you watched my last two episodes, then you know that this will be my first time interviewing somebody for this season, so I'm just really excited. And I had to start off, my show with a little bang and get the most important influencer on the internet right now, Mr. Zachary Perkins.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, Zach, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, friends?
I'm great. So today, me and Zach are going to be talking about R&B then and R&B now. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, Zach. So we're going to start off, and I just want to know who would be, if you could give me maybe like 5 top female artists of the 90s.
Ooh, of the 90s, you gotta go Mariah.
For sure.
You gotta go Toni Braxton. She's just the 90s.
I'm thinking like old school, real old school.
Okay. I'm gonna put 2 on 1 because they're groups. TLC and SWV.
Okay.
They really ran the 90s.
Indeed. Girl groups is real big.
They were. I miss good girl groups, by the way. I'm trying to think who else would I give the 90s to. I would give the 90s to Faith Evans. And my last one. It's a little hard.
Right? This was me when I was thinking about my top 90s artists. I was like me.
Ooh. Did I say Mariah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she really ran. I have to put Mariah up there twice. No, but I think the last one I would say. I'll go ahead and say Destiny's Child.
Okay. So I went on the internet and I looked up the top 10 female artists who ran the 90s. Okay. So we got Erykah Badu, Aaliyah, Monica, Brandy, Janet Jackson, Lauryn Hill, Whitney Houston, Mary J. Blige, Toni Braxton, and Mariah Carey. This is in no particular order. This is just.
I forgot Brandy and Monica.
Yes, those were. Cause I feel like I don't know. I feel like I kind of grew up with them, so I don't see it as 90s. I kind of see it as like 2000s.
Yeah, and they were still very much in their prime, like when we were coming up. So, yeah.
No, for sure. So then I also looked up top artists in the 2000s.
Okay.
So we have Toni Braxton, Jill Scott, Aaliyah, Keisha Cole, Sierra, Ashanti, Mariah Carey, Mary J. Blige, Alicia Keys, and Beyonce.
Okay.
Now, looking at these two lists, or hearing the two lists, do you think there is a difference in between the artists that was on the two lists?
I don't necessarily know if I do because I think a lot of the artists from the 2000s were influenced by the artists from the 90s. I think that the difference was R&B and hip hop were kind of coming up on this surgence together in the 90s, so they played off of each other. Like you would have Mary J. Blige singing on hip hop beats, like back in the 90s. And then in the 2000s, I don't know, it was something weird with rap, and it just kind of declined and kind of went into so many different directions. And then R&B was just kind of at the forefront for a while. And so I think more of the melodic singers kind of fell off, and people who were kind of able to have that crossover mainstream appeal kind of really came to prominence in the 2000s.
Yes, for sure. I'm glad you brought that up because I wrote that down. I feel like in the 2000s, the music became more just upbeat, fast tempo, disco, funk, like Let's Dance kind of thing. And in the 90s, it was real rhythm and blues, like real soul, real using live instruments, guitars, pianos, things like that. And now we're using like trap beats, like trap soul kind of thing. And I think it's cool though because I feel like R&B is kind of like the stepping stone for dang near almost any other like genre of music. Like even I feel like R&B really helped hip hop even get to the level that like it is now, because for a minute R&B was like it girl, and hip hop was slowly but surely coming out, and so hip hop artists started trying to either collaborate with R&B singers or trying to make their songs sound like R&B ish type beats, but like still rapping on them. Crazy. So now we're gonna talk about the girls now. So the list that I have is Snow Allegra, Jasmine Sullivan, Ari Lennox, her, Summer Walker, and then I wanted to dig into this because it really bothered me. A lot of people put these two artists in this R&B category. Miss Doja Cat and Miss Lizzo.
Okay.
Me personally, being the R&B lover, no. That's all I gotta say about that. I don't think so. It's enough for me,
No, Doja definitely is a rapper. But I mean, I was talking to I think Kenny and Lana about this. I think that when you look at people like Lauryn Hill, she's really been a blueprint for all the new girls. And the new female rappers are really not afraid to be versatile with their sounds because I think she was so versatile in her music. So Doja's definitely a rapper, but she knows how to do so many, because when you're a musician, like when you actually like making music, it shows in your work, and I think that that's the case with Doja. And then with Lizzo's a pop star, but people have a problem with black women being pop stars. They did it to Janet Jackson, they tried to do it to Normani, and it's just like, black women are just, black people, black entertainers in general, are just forced to check a box and to be R&B, and that's just not the music everybody makes.
No, it's not. And I think R&B is so evolving that like it is more than just slow jams, just more than just love songs, you know? Because I think when you really think about it, like when you think what is R&B, you know, like it is rhythm and blues, yes, but when I picture, I think of like singers. I think of people who like bring the house down, you know, like stuff like that. But then we do have artists like Lauryn Hill and artists like Janet Jackson who did bring in something a little more edgy than just singing about love and heartbreaks and slow melodic things. So I think a really big, you touched on this, bringing up pop. And I always tell my friends that I want to, whenever I get a little bit more known, get a little bit of a bigger audience, I really want to bring up the conversation of a genre of R and pop. Because I really feel like that's a thing, because you can't just, there's a lot of artists now who I think are like in an R and pop category. I think my biggest person I would put in there is Beyonce. Because she can sing. Definitely she can make R&B music, but she's not just an R&B artist. She can definitely make pop music. The world know that. Like, you know what I'm saying? The music that she puts out is very versatile, very here and there. And I think, like you said, doing music, you do have to, if you really do music, then you have the capacity and the ability to hop over into different genres. Even, I think Rihanna. I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know if I would just say R&B, but definitely I could see an R and pop. I could see a you could sing, but we still dancing.
Very much R and pop, because I don't know if I've ever heard, well, okay, with Auntie, that was the first time I heard like a Rihanna vocal. Well, I'm not gonna say the first time, I'm not gonna play her, because she had been in the game, she was 8 hours in, I'm not gonna play her. But that album was just cohesive, and I was like, I think that's what it is. Pop music is forgettable, it's kind of like throwaways. R&B, if it's good R&B, it's always a good cohesive body of work that I'm like, this meshes well together, and it'll live on, it'll age well, you know, years from now. I think that's what she did with Auntie, and that's why, you know, Mackenzie.
Yes, we have a question from John.
Thank you. Do y'all think that R&B lives so long just because black people tend to keep things generationally versus white people don't tend to keep like culture and music as close to like pass it down through their families and such, and that's why you think pop runs through so much? Or do you think like it's just the longevity of the music that the girls was making in the 90s just were hits that stuck like grits? Not to say like Madonna and Britney Spears don't come back, you know. They got some hits, but I I mean, like, because of how important music is culturally to black people, do you think because of that difference with white people, that's why pop and R&B don't tend to mesh well together?
I mean, I think that is an interesting point. I think that what it is, I think white consumers are able to adapt and evolve their music to match what's going on in society and the culture. But I think that every time music changes, the people who gatekeep in our community are always at the forefront of conversations. Like, you know, with rap, like there's East Coast rap, there's West Coast rap, you know, the South rap is its own thing. And when each of those things came out, and then you have trap rap now.
Mm-hmm.
And when each of these things came out, like they all got pushback, they all got resistance. They were all told they weren't essential and core to hip hop. And I think it's the same thing with R&B now. It's like you said, R&B pop, and then we have like neo soul, and it's like these things, we know that they're not R&B, but they're being pushed by the labels and by, you know, the fans and the mainstream as R&B, and I think it's diluting what R&B means to us, and I think we're not being able to appreciate new subgenres coming up because we're like, no, that is not R&B. Like, you are not doing what Gladys Knight was doing back in the day, and then it causes a disconnect. And I think that if we don't stop and accept those changes like rap did, then R&B, it's not gonna die, but it's just not gonna be as strong as it is. Because I think we're getting so many different things right now. Like, there's something for everybody in R&B right now.
For sure. And I think that, I don't know, I don't want to say, I guess, a white audience. I think they try to find what fits for like the time. And R&B is something that literally always fits. Like R&B, you can put on, there's a lot of old songs that a lot of people know just because like they're hits, and it just so happens that they are from R&B artists and like are R&B songs. But it's like there are some songs that are hits that are like hip hop songs, and not everybody would necessarily like know them, you know. But if I put on I Have Nothing, you know, everybody in the building is gonna start singing, you know what I'm saying? But if I start playing some UGK or some Tupac, they sitting there confused, like, you know what I'm saying? But definitely with music being so moving, so changing, so adaptable, like I think we do have to get out of the mindset of that's not R&B, like, cause that's not, she don't sound like Fantasia, that ain't Whitney Houston, that's not Tony, like, it's not R&B. But it's like, cause I think I used to be like that for sure. I definitely used to be like, why are they putting all these people in the R&B category and they not singing? If you can't sing, then it's not R&B. But like, that's not even necessarily what R&B is. R&B is soul, like it's literally you putting your heart into something. It's literally emotions, passions. You know?
Yeah, I have to start listening like to the actual music and the lyrics. Sometimes it's not about the vocal, but like if the overall presentation is at least decent, I can like get through it and I can like hear what you're trying to say and meet you halfway. The thing that upsets me, I think, is you have like these big artists who I think we have the tendency to want to claim as our own, like Mariah, like Beyonce, like Lauren. They make R&B music, but it just feels pop because they become so big and they become bigger than their music. And then like they influence the game in ways, and then they don't get the credit. The genre doesn't get the credit. It's accredited to pop because they're just big people. Like Mariah was the artist who started putting rappers on songs. Like, but she was making R&B music at the time, but it was just big R&B records like coming out. And so then pop music tried to claim her like as their own, you know what I'm saying? And even with Beyonce, it's like music gets released on Fridays now because of Beyonce. Like,
sure do, I definitely do that now.
and was releasing R&B music at the time, and it's just like you listen to the people who are clearly influenced by them, like Ariana Grande, for example. You listen to her music, and there's just hints and elements of R&B like all throughout her music. And I know that if R&B artists were to put out those same songs that are written by Black people, they wouldn't pop the same way.
And wouldn't. That's very
But
true.
you hear the influences, you hear the tinge of R&B, you even hear like the vocal stacking and layering. That is akin to R&B music, that is akin to soul music, and then it is flipped, and then I think that's how we lose the genre.
For sure. I think everybody tries to, it's always, like I said, how they want something that sticks or fits. It's always R&B, even as far as, not just the music, but as far as the people who started the R&B movement and making it so big to how it is now. They were amazing artists, not just from the music they were making, but just them personality-wise.
Right.
They all came with something different. Like TLC, it's just from the way they dressed. Everybody was looking at them like, oh, like, we want to be like them. We're like, we need to start making more girl groups who aren't just very feminine. They can switch it up and dress kind of tomboyish, but still sing about the same things, rap about the same things, and still be appealing. And now you see, it kind of just go back to the whole culture thing, you know? People just trying to, hate to just, but appropriate the culture that like R&B is bringing, because I feel like R&B was really like the forefront and the push that really helped artists like put themselves out there. Because I feel like just looking at the list that I have, female and male, they all like brought something that like that's them. You know, I know Whitney because of like her runs, or I know Mariah because she can hit like all the octaves that literally nobody else can hit, or like Beyonce because of her performances, Tiera because she can dance, like, just different things that you can take away from each person. And it's like, well, not R&B, baby, because they can do it better. We can put a little pop on it, put a little TikTok dance, and now it's pop. Like,
that's
so
what it is every time.
it's just the time. It is what it is. So I also have a list for male artists.
Okay.
So to start off for the 90s, I will say, looking at this list, there were a couple of dudes on here that I didn't know. So I had to go look up some music. Just because I didn't necessarily grow up in a very R&B listening household, so I just was a little confused.
Right.
So of course they have R. Kelly on there. Case, Pretty Ricky, Montel Jordan, H-Town, Keith Sweat, BBD, that's Belle Biv DeVoe, Cisco, Guy, Jodeci, and Bobby Brown.
I don't know some of them.
I'm dead. No, definitely like people like Belle Biv DeVoe. I actually didn't know who that was until I went and looked it up. Like, I know some songs. It was like a couple of them. It was like I knew the music, but I didn't know the artist kind of thing. I heard the song before. But fast forward to the 2000s, I know you know these people. So we have Joe, Jaheim, Jamie Foxx, Maxwell, John Legend, Neo, Chris Brown, Justin Timberlake, R. Kelly, and Usher. Now I'll say, looking at the list, I think the only difference to me between the 90s and the 2000s, I guess male-wise, would be, for me, it's how vulgar that they were in their music. I feel like the 90s music was very, very, come here, I want you to take your pants off. And then like the 2000s is like, okay girl, you kind of cute. Now come over here and then take your pants off. You know, like it just they come with like a different they came with a different approach, different energy for sure.
I will say the men in the 90s, a lot of them got lucky with their success because they were cute.
I see, no, for real.
Because some of them I'm listening, I'm like, I know your personality, I know what you look like, but I've never heard. You said something on there, I didn't even know they sang. Like I didn't know how I knew them, but I didn't know it was from music.
Yeah. And
then I think it kind of switched. I think in the 90s, the women were singing, like they were singing. And then in the 2000s, it was like, okay, yeah, like we're gonna put out good music. Like everybody's not gonna be serving the vocal, but we're gonna give y'all good music. And then with the men, it was like, they were not really singing like that in the 90s. I mean, yeah, we had some moments, we had some singers in the 90s, but in the 2000s, like,
because We to Get My Bedroom is
okay,
they were singing.
But in the 2000s, the men came out swinging like you got to think about that album run Usher went on. You know, like Justin Timberlake was undefeated. I know it's a little murky on him right now, but you know he was really out here. He was in his bag, and it was just they were putting out cohesive projects in the 2000s.
I think they had to though, because after a while, if we're only relying on looks and bare minimum talent, it's like, well, what else are we? You know, what else can you bring to the table? What else can you really pull in?
Right.
But this is not even like on my list of things to talk about. But if you were to have a king of R&B, who would it be?
Jesus.
Right? Because I really was thinking like who is like a really big like male R&B influence, like who really came in and like took over the, you know?
Yeah, the game. It would have to be, if we're like looking in terms of maybe like the last 25, 30 years, I'm gonna say Usher.
I agree. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Everybody tries to say it's Chris Brown, but he's literally Usher's son. So.
Yes. I'm like, literally without Usher, there wouldn't even be a Chris Brown.
Right. Every time he gets the chance, he big ups Michael Jackson, Usher, and no.
To me, Chris Brown is R&B pop too. He's the king of R&B pop. Okay.
Chris could have been the king of R&B, but after everything happened with Rihanna, he really went into a weird bad music, and he never came back from it. And it's like sometimes he'll pop out with an R&B record, and then I listen to the album, I'm like, what's going on here?
The album is all the same songs.
45 times.
What? Why are you dropping albums that have more than 20 songs? 20 is still kind of a lot for an album, but I mean, if you make that much music and it's good, then that like put it out for sure. But you dropping 40 songs and then
you talking about 2 months later you got a deluxe with 20 more songs. I'm like,
I never even got the whole deluxe thing, because why do people make deluxes and then half of it is the same song, but then it's like 3 songs that have remixes?
And a lot of times people are like, well, I put out this deluxe because I didn't have time to finish this. If I'm working on something, y'all not gonna hear it until it's, I feel everything that needs to be on there is on there. Like, because now I'm looking at you and I'm like,
if I didn't listen to the song on a regular album, why would I listen to it on the deluxe album?
Like, come on now.
No bad. So to get into the male R&B artists now, we have Daniel Caesar, Giveon, Khalid, The Weeknd, Ro James, Anderson .Paak, Bryson Tiller, Black, and Party Next Door. I would say I love everybody on this list. Okay,
I love the men right
male R&B, they don't get the credit they deserve at all. Like, I don't think I've ever watched an award show on, I guess, like BT, of course, but anything that has to do like R&B related. I've never watched an award show where you're judging R&B artists and a male has won. But it's like, we literally can't sit here and act like they're not coming out with bops.
They are. I think the men are kind of getting back to that classic vintage R&B sound.
Definitely.
Don't get me wrong, I love what the women are doing right now. I love how the legends have come back, like with projects in the last year, and just been at the top of their game, like Brandy and Tony. But the men right now are just like, they on some other stuff. Like they're hungry, and they're newer, I think too, because we kind of went through a period where the representation of R&B was like, you had your Miguel's, you had your Jacquees's, and there was no in between. And I was.
That's funny because that's literally 2 different.
One can sing, and one should not have ever picked up a microphone.
I always think of woo.
I just no.
No, I definitely agree. The male, I feel like R&B right now for females is. I feel like R&B in general, since the world is changing, we're trying to find where we still fit in with everything, with music and with it changing. But the males are really like going back to like roots, using. I love like Giveon, how he uses a lot of like real slow, real acoustic sounding music, stuff like that. Like, and it's not all R and pop, or it's not all like upbeat R&B music. Like, they can definitely do both, but like you can definitely see that they can come with more than just that. And I love it. Now, we've talked about, I guess, the difference between the artist and the music itself. But R&B, as far as it fitting into culture, as far as people still listening to it, still appreciating it, what do you think the difference is now? Because, you know, like in the 90s, or even like in the early 2000s, it was like it was really big, you know? But then I feel like now, 2021, and it's kind of like dying down a little bit. Like, we have artists like Summer Walker and Ari who do still kind of make R&B music, but I can tell that they try to appeal to the times now.
Right.
So it's not really like, I don't want to say it's not really R&B, but like you can just tell that like they're trying to change their style to have people be more accepting of R&B music.
Yeah. I would say love Summer's album, but it was very different than her EPs and things.
Yes.
And it was very, I could tell London on the track producer, even if he hadn't shouted his name
Every
75
song.
times down the album. I
if
still,
you produce an album, why your name on every single song?
like, we get it. By track 4, I'm like, okay, London, I know it's you. Like, it's not gonna be nobody else, and I get it. But I could tell that, you know, like you said, that there was a need for it to appeal to other audiences and crowds. And, you know, like, just to give, like, I saw a video of like some men screaming to Fantasia earlier, and I think that people look for that in R&B, like that universal appeal. But I feel like myself, like, there's so much good music being released. Like, I don't know if you know "I Love You So Much" by Lucky Day.
Yes.
One of my favorite songs, like Other Moment. And I feel like we are in a society where people just want to look back on things and be like, this was such a moment, like y'all wasn't here. But I'm like, do y'all know what we have now? Like, I get so hyped and I get so excited, like, listening to music. And I be wanting to put people on, and I be like, I'm finna annoy y'all and share this song on Twitter, because y'all need to go listen to this.
Oh,
like, I was listening to Chloe and Halle earlier. Like, every time I listen to them, it's like the first time. Like, they blow me away. And I do think that as a culture, we have a tendency to flock to hip hop more nowadays, because it is the #1 genre, and I'm really happy for hip hop. Like, hip hop has long deserved to be that, because it's been the backbone of so many things. And these pop stars call rappers in to save their flopping songs, and then, you know, but they never want to return the favor and hop on, you know, rapper songs and give them that shine. So I'm really happy that rap is getting this moment, but like R&B is pulling just as much weight, you know, culturally in today's times.
No, for sure. I think I like how over the years, you can hear the difference in R&B simply by like listening to one artist who was like out in the 90s and still making music now.
Yes.
You can definitely, like Brandy, from listening to like old Brandy and then listening to like the album she just put out last year.
Right.
I was like, okay, so she's still Brandy, she's still like singing, but you can still tell that it's like
very different.
You know, you can tell just by the beats that she chooses, like the instrumentals that she chooses. I think my best example, I guess, would be Jasmine Sullivan, because she's done nothing but get better, get even more amazing. Okay, because I really like. I loved old Jasmine. Like, I love Bust the Windows. I love You Long Time, like songs like that. But Lost Ones, Pick Up Your Feelings, Girl Like Me.
Put It Down is my song right now.
Like,
and the girls need to be scared, because that's not even an album. Like, this is her EP.
she literally kept saying, "This is the project." She
like,
said, "Please stop saying album."
The girls need to be scared, because.
And somebody like Jasmine, it was like she went away for a while. It was like, dang, like, Jasmine, please, we want some music. But then you come out with stuff like this, I'm like, take as long as you need for that album, baby.
But she does that all the time. She takes long breaks, because, again, it's people who care about their craft, and I'm just like, I respect that. Like, because I know when I get something, it's not going to be some bullshit. It's going to be something you really are passionate about, something you care about, and something that you know the genre needs.
Yeah, I don't think I understood that until I started making music. I always thought, cause for me, I think my writing process is really fast. It literally takes me no time to like write a song.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's when you're trying to put together a project or like a complete, thing. It's like, why would you want to hurry up and put something together real quick, like, and then put it out there? For me, it's like, I need to go through life, experience some stuff, have a little heartbreak here and there, break a heart here and there, and then, I can come together with something. I think she's amazing, like, amazing.
Yeah, and just touching off what you said, like, especially in this day of social media, you put out a bad single, bad project, too many bad whatevers in a row, and then that's your reputation.
Yep.
And you can't take things back. I think a lot of times people think that if they just it's like that video of Beyonce, where she's talking about how people just put singles out until they burn out, and then put out another single, and nobody's worried about body support anymore. And I think that people think that as long as they're a part of the conversation, no matter if it's good or bad, that is helping them in their brand and their artistry. And I just miss the time where I don't care what you do with your music. I don't care if your R&B is like classic R&B or if it's one of these new age subgenres, but just take your time and like give me quality. That's literally all I need is a quality project.
For sure, I definitely agree. I think, cause too many singles is just fast here and there, but a project that really shows like your work ethic. That really shows your passion, I guess. Because even like artists like Ari Lennox, she had been putting out music, and then it took her a while to come out with her with Shea Butter Baby. And when she did, it was like, I was like, this is what I wanted for the R&B world. Like, when I first heard Shea Butter Baby, I was like, this is it. Like, she's coming in the game, and I felt like she's really trying to bring back the old R&B. Definitely like still in her own style, but she gives me very, very much old school R&B, like very much like I see my mom jamming her music kind of thing. Cause even like she came out with the single Chocolate Pomegranate. Love that song. Love that song. But it literally, like, I don't know, when I first heard it, it kind of gave me like nostalgia. Like it just brought me back. Like, just listening to it, just like I was at a jazz club, listening to it, just chilling. I love it.
She's one of those girls that is like gonna have some longevity.
For sure.
Her, and I think about her too. Like, her is going to be around for a while. Cause I don't know if you heard her new song "Damage."
Yes.
Love it. Like, I'm just talent oozing out of this.
And she's so talented. She could play almost every instrument known to man too. Love that for her, cause I can't play nothing but like the fiddlesticks. But so my last question is, being somebody who listens to R&B, who loves R&B, what would you want to see from R&B artists who are up and coming, or people who just make R&B music now? Like, what's something that you want to see be brought to life?
I still want to see people take the risks and not be afraid to try new things. It takes one person to start a trend, and I would rather you start a trend of your own and chase your version of R&B and make it good, instead of trying to do what everyone else historically has done before you and then not being able to fill the shoes. So
I like that. I think, especially just with music in general, you try so hard to be somebody else.
Right.
It's like, I want to be Beyonce, I want to be Alicia Keys, I want to be Jasmine, but it's like, you literally can't be them because what they've done is already done.
Right.
And ain't nobody trying to see it again half-assed.
Okay.
Like, that's why people always see, like, interviews of artists and like, oh, if I could just be Beyonce. Like, you don't even have half of the work ethic.
You could be Beyonce.
Has.
You could be Beyonce.
If you was, like, if you really wanted to,
right.
you could. But I be in my head, like, I can't even say anything like that because I'm not really gonna make a whole Coachella performance, create the stage, look the outfits, pick the dancers, do the rest. Like, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's levels.
Levels. Okay, levels. So you definitely gotta work your way up there. Well, I do want to thank you so much for being on Tapped In with Tiera. This was an amazing first interview. I think it was so smooth. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me.
You guys at home, please comment, like, and share, and let me know what you guys think of the video. If you agree with the things that we said, or if you disagree, please let me know. I love interacting with you guys. As always, I'm Tiera Dale, and I will see y'all next week.
Hey.